Welcome to another episode of The Modern Hotelier. We are excited to release this conversation with Dino Jevric, the social media marketing manager at Arlo Hotels. David, I'm pretty sure this was our youngest guest we've ever had. What were some of your takeaways from this conversation?
Yeah, it was a great change because not only was it our youngest guest, but we don't do a lot of talk around social media and how hotels should embrace it and leverage it. We deal with a lot of independent hotels, and they are the ones that probably can benefit the most. So just to hear his take, his suggestion of us bringing in some more younger guests, I just thought overall it was just a really enlightening conversation and like what they're doing at Arlo.
Agree. I mean, I love Arlo's social media, what they're doing over there. And it was really fun to get a kind of a different perspective. I feel like, David, you're right. We do talk to maybe some older guests more often. But, having somebody on who grew up with social media, as we talk about his fan page on Facebook when he was younger, just hearing his perspective and his relationship with kind of social media and what he looks for in social media engagement and overall strategy. Super enlightening. If you are in marketing or social media for a hotel, this is an episode you really have to listen to. Enjoy and let us know what you think in the comments.
Enjoy it. Welcome to The Modern Hotelier, the most engaged podcast in hospitality. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and let us know in the comments what you think about today's episode. Steve, who do we have on the program today?
Yeah, David, excited about today's conversation. We have Dino Jevric on. Dino is the social media marketing manager at Arlo Hotels. Welcome to the show, Dino. How are you doing today?
Thanks for having me, guys. I'm great. I'm excited to be on. Big fan.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to get started. We're going to go through a lightning round. I'm going to ask you some quick questions. We're going to dive in, get to know your background, your career, and then jump into some industry topics. Sound good?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. What's something that you wish you were better at?
Figure skating.
What's your most used emoji?
The hands up emoji.
Got it. What's a luxury you can't live without?
I would probably say my morning coffee.
All right. If you had a time machine and you can go back to the past or ahead to the future, which way are you going and what year are you going to go to?
I would definitely go back to the past because I am an old soul, but I would travel back to 2015 to the beginnings of Instagram and social media and when it was at its peak and when people were, better at not just selling you things.
What's the best piece of advice you've received so far?
Best piece of advice I've received was actually from our director of marketing, Craig Daniels, told me once that, you know, we're not saving lives. And I often use that in my day to day.
Got it. All right. What's on your bucket list?
On my bucket list, I just came back from Japan. I definitely want to check out the rest of Asia. On my bucket list is definitely Thailand.
Very
Got it.
nice.
Good answer.
Great answer. So, Dino, that was great. Now we're going to dive into your background a little bit more about what makes you tick. So, you live in Brooklyn. Were you born and raised in New York?
No, I was actually born upstate in a very, very small town just south of the border of Canada called Malone, New York. I lived there until I was about 7, then moved down to Brooklyn. So I am technically a New Yorker, as I'd like to say. I've been here for quite some time to earn that title, but yeah, I was not native to New York City, but been here for most of my life.
How did growing up in upstate New York and then moving to New York City at 7 really shape you into who you are today?
Yeah, I mean, it was a huge culture shock, as you can imagine. I came from a town, I think at the time there was about like close to 5,000 people populating
Wow.
it. So very, very small town. My dad owned a restaurant down there. So that's how I, was introduced to the hospitality scene. But then everything changed when we moved down to Brooklyn. As you can tell, it's a big cultural shift. I got a lot into pop culture and learning about different things in culture that surrounded me at all times. So yeah, that was kind of the beginnings of Dina.
Nice.
So you got your degree in international marketing from Baruch College.
hmm
What made you focus on marketing and end up at Baruch?
Yeah, so I actually ended up. I started out in college with a general business, major. I didn't know exactly what I was going to do, but I've always been creative. I've been great at creative writing and always had a bit of creativity behind me. So marketing just seemed like necessary for me to take on. So yeah, that's kind of how I came into that.
So, Dina, when I was doing research for you, I came across a fan page of yours on Facebook from your younger years. Was that kind of your first
Oh boy.
introductory page and your first time on social media, or when did you really get excited about it?
Steve, how do you know about that?
You're Dino Jevric. We got to know.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. So I did, and that's a bit traumatizing that you brought that up. But that was my kind of the beginning. I was a very creative person on social media, as you can see. I kind of created a persona around myself, which set me apart from others, and I think that's how I've been navigating my career in social media. I think being realizing that I have that gift of, communicating different brands and kind of making myself the brand is something that I've learned that I'm great at.
That's great. Well, when I came across that page, it made my day. So
Yeah, well, that made me shiver.
it was a good blast from the past.
Awesome.
So, do you know, now we're going to dive into your career, how you got to be the social media marketing manager for Arlo Hotels. So, you actually got involved in social media pretty early on. You've said you launched your career at the age of 19 in New York City. You've worked with companies like Down to Dash, Buddha Bar, and The Scene, all in New York. What really made you passionate about social media?
I think social media is a vessel in marketing that allows you to be the most creative. It's also something that everyone, no matter what age, what gender, can relate to. And I think it's a great way to just communicate with different audiences and find personality in business. So yeah, that was kind of the thought process behind my shift in my career where I started out.
And so for almost 2 years, you've been the social media manager at Arlo Hotels. For those who are not familiar, can you let us know more about Arlo Hotels?
So Arlo Hotels is a lifestyle hotel brand. We're a small brand, but very mighty. We have 7 hotels across the U.S. So we have one in Chicago, one in D.C. that we just opened last year, one in Miami, and we have 4 in New York City. So yeah, we're small but mighty. We focus on travelers who want to experience things. We're all about the experience, whether that be starting the experience from what you see on social media to the end point.
Right.
We're all about creating community and highlighting culture within the stay.
Well done. And I'm familiar with Arlo. Big fan of what you all are doing. Keep up the
Thank
great
you very
work.
much.
So, as a social media marketing manager, what are ways that you've helped grow the brand across social media? And what types of returns have you seen on this?
Well, yeah, I mean, when I joined, I definitely saw a lot of opportunity with Arlo because it is such a big brand that surrounds itself with culture, with different activations. I wanted to lean into that more with our social media. Also, we have an amazing, incredible staff here, and I wanted to also tap into that too. So a lot of the times we'll feature different, employees of ours on our social media and really go behind the scenes into what Arlo is at its core. So yeah, that was kind of the evolution of, what we wanted to, tap into with Arlo social media.
And you kind of have a unique way of positioning social media. Can you tell us a little bit more about that? It's not like a billboard on the side of a street
Yeah.
or anything like that. Can you tell us a little bit more about your strategy?
Yeah, so with social media strategy itself, I think that a lot of the times brands are really focused on that sell, sell, sell mentality. And
Mhm.
it's kind of what I talked about before, where social media used to be a place where we could all come together and share our creative, processes and things like that. And with brands, I think that it kind of evolved into something where we constantly have to promote something. There always has to be a CTA, there always has to be that link in bio, and I think that what I realize is that travelers want to feel connected to a brand more than ever before. They want that feeling, they want that passion, and they don't want to be just scrolling for deals. They want to be also scrolling for humanity. a great example of this is actually, I know on one of your recent podcasts, you guys talked about, giveaways powering social media now. So that's something that we do, at Arlo with the social media, but we spin that in a way where, for an example, we just partner with Kind Traveler, which is a huge partner of ours that we just introduced. And we partnered with them for a giveaway, and we had people tag somebody significant in their lives and say something nice about them.
Nice.
And that really brought hundreds of people that shared, like, deeply personal and heartfelt messages. And that it made me realize that, people aren't just looking for a good deal. People aren't
Mhm.
just looking for something to buy on social. People are actually looking for something with meaning. And that's all what we're all about with our social media strategy.
That's great. Also enables that human connection across social
Exactly.
media
Yeah.
as well. Well done. Well done. That is great. Now we're going to dive into the thought leadership section of the podcast. So, coming from the hotel and social media side, what do you think hotels really misunderstand about today's digital traveler?
I think the number one thing also to the same point is that they want more promotion. I think that that's something that's simply not true. And as a consumer myself, it kind of deters me from being a social media user is the fact that I'm always constantly being fed a sale. Funny enough, one of my favorite podcasts that you guys have done, just to plug another one, is the one you guys do with Scott Eddy, and he said, if your mouth is moving, you're selling something, which is true. As a brand on social media, when you are talking about something, you are generally selling something. However, I think that we focus too much again on that sell, 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 personality, that we're kind of deterring the customer away from, what the personality of the brand. And that's where we really shine through. We want today's traveler to feel something first and then they book.
And how has Arlo redefined what a boutique hotel brand can look like on social media?
I think that we show that you don't have to be this hyper polished version of a hotel. You don't need those super editorial photos or those, really expensive videos in order to communicate that, you are a great hotel brand. At Arlo, I think our main mission with our social media is to create a world in which we're inviting everyone to experience the Arlo experience before they even make it on property. And we let them into our funny and chaotic human moments of life in the hotel. So I think that's kind of what helps us shine. And you know, a big thing in terms of the social media strategy was when I joined was introducing something called Behind the Doors at Arlo, which is a series that we did and that evolved into different series where we showcase, little moments behind the scenes, whether that be, going to the market with our chef Michael at Sungold in Williamsburg, or following the GM around the hotel at Soho. I mean, these are definitely things that if someone can scroll through our feed and feel the Arlo experience without stepping foot in the lobby, that's how we know we've done our job.
That's great. So I feel like social media is always evolving. From the early days where you had your fan club on Facebook to now, it has changed quite a bit and it continues to change and evolve. Is there a different strategy that you have kind of moving into next year or kind of something you're excited about with Arlo's social media strategy?
I'm generally excited and I'm always excited as to where the social media is going. But I think a really big thing, especially within the coming years, that we're celebrating a huge milestone at Arlo. It's our 10-year anniversary next year. And with that, in terms of social, we're working on a huge campaign that's, brand wide. It also involves a billboard in Times Square, which is pretty neat. So yeah, we're really excited. We're also introducing some new concepts to the Arlo social media in terms of series. So we're doing a concept that's kind of like in bed with Arlo, where we sit down with partners in a bed at Arlo hotels and we talk about different facets of their partnership with Arlo, which could connect with nightlife, wellness, art, etc. So yeah, there's huge opportunities in the future that I'm looking forward to, and I'm just looking forward to the brand growing.
This is a very interesting question for you because I'm pretty sure you're the youngest guest we've had on the podcast.
It's a
So,
great honor. Thank you.
yeah, no, and it's been a great conversation. So, what legacy do you hope to leave on hospitality with the work that you're doing today?
That's a great question. The other day, someone actually commented on a LinkedIn post that I did a while ago talking about, what we've been doing with social at Arlo. And they said, like, I like this, brands who pretend, and again, like that it's 2015 and that real social media personality shines through. And, before everything became an ad or before authenticity got replaced by algorithm chasing, I think that that is the legacy that I'd like to leave on the industry. I think that that's something that is really, important to me in terms of what I do, and really allowing branding and personality to meet at the intersection of marketing is something that I'm looking forward to continue doing, and also leave on the industry.
That's great. And one last thing here. A lot of hotels struggle with social media. There's some hotels that do an exceptional job, like Arlo, but it's not natural for a lot of hotels and they do struggle with it. What advice do you have to those hotels that might be struggling with their social media strategy? Maybe a tip that they can just implement or put to use right away.
I think that the number one tip that I've also learned with myself within the past year is lean into culture a lot more. A lot of brands have been doing it, and at Arlo we've been doing it a lot, but lean into culture when it makes sense for the brand is what I always like to say. For example, we did Labubus were a huge craze earlier this year. They were literally everywhere. And brands left and right were feeding into that, and doing campaigns and different pop-ups and things like that. And at Arlo, I definitely saw the opportunity to implement that cultural trend, but then also make it make sense for us. So we did a day in the life with from the POV of a Labubu at Arlo Nomad. Uh, so I definitely would say that's my number one tip is really, the brands who are on the playing field when it comes to culture are the ones that are going to succeed at the end. So yeah, definitely lean into that.
I like that. Do you have a favorite campaign that you guys have done at Arlo?
I would say our most recent one that we've done is we had a Halloween party coming up at Arlo Nomad that we did a little tiny campaign with, and we actually had our director of marketing act in it. And I would highly recommend that you check it out. It was kind of like a haunted library thing that we had going on. So yeah, that also goes back to just having our audience experience the Arlo experience.
Yeah, it seems like you have fun just doing these. Like this is just, what a cool job. You get to create these cool social media campaigns.
It is so fun, and I'm blessed that I get to come to work every day and create different ideas with the team and to kind of spitfire. We have like our 4:30 p.m. sessions every day where we're just like all tired and just throwing ideas at each other that are the most insane. Actually, one it's just to I kind of want to do want to change my answer on that last question.
Yeah, go for it.
Um, about the campaign that I like the most. We actually did a campaign around a promo called "Take It Off." It was a transition between winter to I believe the spring summertime. And we were just, take it off, like taking off your clothes because it's getting warmer outside. And I had the idea, and this kind of evolved from one of our like 4:30 p.m. Ideas was, what if somebody just dropped their panties? And we thought, like, what if it was me? And I I I really implore you to go see this on our social media. It is one of my favorite ones that we've ever done, and again, it's fun, it's authentic, and it's just who we are as a brand. So yeah,
That's great. That's unique. That's for sure. I don't know of any hotel company that I've heard of that has a campaign like that. So
yeah, for sure.
that's great. So Dino, we've been asking you questions this whole time. This is where we turn those tables and let you ask David and I a question.
Wow, that's an honor. I kind of want to put you guys on the spot,
Shoot.
and I want to ask you, other than Arlo, who are other brands that you guys have been seeing that have, you know, been doing well in terms of social media?
Yeah. I'll go first. One of my favorites to follow is the Good Time Hotel.
Oh, love
They
them.
do an incredible job with their social media. I mean, they have pool parties. It's a very sexy hotel. I mean, the founders are pretty big names, but
Love
I
Mr.
thoroughly
Throckmorton.
enjoy their social media posts. And every time when I'm sitting in Colorado and it's snowing, I'm like, man, I'd love to be in Miami at that pool party right now. So I think they do a fantastic job.
Agreed.
Yeah, and I think for me, and obviously I'm a little biased because we filmed it, but the Lafayette Hotel in San Diego, they do a great job of not only because it's such a unique property, but they do a great job of mixing in kind of a little bit more stage photography with a little bit more kind of influencer or kind of ad hoc, and so you don't feel like you're seeing the same images and the same thing time and time again. Tower 23, which we also filmed, does a great job of that, where they've got a really good blend, and I think that's where the hotels for me that I like to follow on social media is the ones that mix it up and are doing a combination where it's not always just image, 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 or just all video where you kind of get that blend and get to see the property. So, but I like your comment earlier, which is something we always say is that it seems like there's too much staged video, especially in lifestyle kind of boutique independent hotels where there's not that kind of real, and that's what we try to do, film more real footage so you feel connected to the property versus, just some sort of corporate video.
Exactly. I
Awesome.
share that sentiment.
Well, this has been great. So we're going to kick it over to John, our producer. He's been listening this whole time. He is going to ask you one more question before we get you out of here.
It's been fun listening to the conversation. I love the topic. Kind of building off what David said, what have you found? With the stage photos and video, it can tend to look like things get recycled all the time. Like a
Mhm.
hotel at a property will pay a lot of money to get photos and video done in like a 3 to 4 day span, and then these things get reused for years and years. So I guess how do you find, from your perspective, what's the balance of like that really maybe more stylistic or cinematic, maybe video or photo style mixed in with the more authentic kind of run and gun shot from the phone? Like, how do you balance that and how do you guys view that? And then I've got a second parter to this, but
Mm.
I want to hear that answer.
Yeah, for sure. I think that, with that balance, that balance is really key. You don't want to constantly just show that polished version of the hotel. You do want to, have a lot of that content that really speaks to your personality. I think that at Arlo, we definitely find ways of finding that balance in terms of the type of content that we're talking about. When it comes to a lot of promos, either we handle it by doing, a cell phone video of what the promo is about, doing some fun skits and stuff. Other times when we're talking about something on a more brand wide level where we'd like to represent the brand under one umbrella, that's where we start to implement a lot of that professional photography and professional video. So I definitely think that there's room to leverage both. I don't think that there should be brands that stick to one end of the spectrum. And that's something that we try to do a lot of the times here.
Yeah, and I saw that. I was going through previous to this episode, looking through kind of what your website looks like, and then what it shows like on social media. And you're right, you have a great mix of like, oh, if I was at the website, I can see this still ties into the brand, but yet there's some of that more kind of run and gun, content that's more kind of like user generated type of stuff, right? The second part is the experimentation. Like, how do you with all these campaigns that you're talking about, those are ideas that you have to come up with. So what does it look like to really just experiment and say, hey, we're going to try something? And then how many of those things that you maybe experimented with didn't even make it to be a social media post? And how many did you try and be like, yeah, we're never doing that again? Like what, because that's the reality of the experimentation. So I'm curious to hear the behind the scenes of that.
Yeah. I mean, we've had 'em multiple times where we tried something out and it didn't really work, but I kind of like to believe that we're big risk takers. I think that sometimes we do tend to go behind the backs of our superiors and kind of stick things in there and be like, "Hey, like, see, it actually works." So yeah, I think that developing a balance of kind of spewing out those ideas, take the risks, do things that aren't necessarily something that a hotel some would think should be doing on social media and see if it works. Take I definitely see our brand taking the risk of doing these different trends on social media and stuff. And some would say like, like that's never going to work for a hotel, or that'll never work for this specific promotion that you're trying to do. But then it ends up working, and it's kind of like a hot in your face moment. So there's a lot of that.
Well, it's you don't know what's going to be the next thing until you have an idea and you try it, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, that does it for another episode of The Modern Hotelier. This is where, Dino, you get to plug away. Tell us how people can get in touch with you, how they can find out more about Arlo Hotels.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'd be happy to connect with all of you on LinkedIn. You can just find me at my first and last name here. But with Arlo, you can find us on Instagram. You can find us at our website at www.arlohotels.com. And yeah, you can stay in touch with all of our other social channels. We have Arlo After Dark, all of our restaurants, Some Gold BK, Nomad Diner NYC, and About Last Knife. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right. Well, that does it for another episode of The Modern Hotelier, the most engaged podcast in hospitality. Whether you're watching or listening, we appreciate you and hope to be with you again soon. Thank you, Dino.
Thank you, guys.
You made it to the end of The Modern Hotelier. Thanks for watching or listening. The Modern Hotelier is produced by Modern Hotelier Media. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're listening on YouTube, or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. If you know a good guest, sponsor, or have media needs, feel free to reach out to us at hello@themodernhotelier.com. Thanks and have a great day.